Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're plunging into a truly harrowing case. It starts with this scene, just incredibly jarring. Imagine being woken up on a quiet street in Bristol, UK, morning of September 23rd, 2015.
Right.
You hear screaming, shouting, your doorbell is just ringing frantically. Dr. Nick White looks out her window, sees a man, only in his underwear, and he looks like he's covered in mud.
Yeah, that was the initial impression.
She thought maybe it was some weird prank, but he's screaming, begging for help. Other neighbors, like Thomas Sweet, they hear the cries, they come out too. What on earth was going on?
Well, what became chillingly clear very quickly was that it wasn't mud at all. His skin was, well, it was literally melting off him in clumps.
Oh my God.
This was Mark van Dongen. He was a 28-year-old engineer originally from the Netherlands, moved over to the UK to study. In this case, it really reveals, I think, not just extreme cruelty and premeditation, but the devastating long-term impact an attack like this has on a person's life.
Mark's story is, it's undeniably difficult. But what really strikes me here, and what we need to unpack, isn't just the suffering itself, but the sheer sort of calculated nature of it. This wasn't random.
Not at all.
And the lasting legacy, driven by jealousy and control. Just how deep did that planning actually go?
Well, we're going to trace the breakdown of his relationship.
Yeah.
He's involved with a 48-year-old fashion student, Berlinah Wallace. We'll look at the really chilling weeks leading up to the attack, the horrific moments themselves, and then Mark's just agonizing struggle afterwards for survival, for dignity.
It really forces you to confront some dark aspects of human behavior.
It does.
So this wasn't, like you said, a sudden thing. They'd met back in 2010. Berlinah was quite a bit older, nearly 20 years.
That's right.
But by August 2015, the relationship was really falling apart. Mark's friends had apparently been worried for a while, noticed unexplained scratches on him.
Red flags already.
Yeah. And one really disturbing incident, apparently she'd poured boiling water on him while he was asleep.
Boiling water. That's a serious assault in itself. A clear escalation long before the acid.
Absolutely. But Mark did end the relationship. He started moving on, met someone new.
And what's really crucial here is the timeline right after that separation. So just 21 days before Mark was found screaming in the street, that takes us to September 2nd. Berlinah's actions took an incredibly dark turn. She went online, started searching for acid attacks. She looked at 82 different cases, meticulously studying what happened to the victims.
82. That's not a fleeting thought. That's research.
Exactly. It's deliberate education in cruelty. And after all that browsing, on that very same day, she bought a bottle of concentrated sulphuric acid from Amazon.
Wow. The same day. And Mark, he knew something was wrong, didn't he? He actually called the police that day, September 2nd.
He did. He told them Berlinah was harassing him and his new girlfriend.
How? What was she doing?
She'd called Mark's new girlfriend multiple times, just staying silent on the line. You know, intimidation tactics. And she'd also threatened to kill herself if Mark really left her. So the police, they contacted Berlinah, gave her a warning.
And Mark also called his dad that day, expressing real fear.
Yes, he recounted the scratches, the boiling water incident. He was genuinely worried about what she might do next.
So, despite all these fears, these warnings, on the night of September 22nd, Mark went back to Berlinah's flat. Why?
It seems his intention was to reiterate, finally, that it was definitely over, maybe try and make some kind of final amends. It's hard to fully grasp. But he also decided to stay the night there.
And that decision just proved catastrophic.
Utterly devastating. Around 3 a.m., September 23rd, while Mark was asleep, Berlinah got up,
Right?
walked into the kitchen, poured some of that acid she'd bought into a cup, went back to the bedroom.
Oh, no.
She woke Mark up, laughed, and then said, just chillingly, "If I can't have you, then nobody can." And then she threw the sulphuric acid right in his face.
Just unimaginable cruelty, that phrase.
He was instantly in just tremendous pain, managed to run outside, screaming in agony, begging for help. And that's when the neighbors, Dr. White, Thomas Sweet, came out.
And they called emergency services?
Yes, they told the operator his ex-girlfriend had thrown acid in his face. They quickly got him into a flat, under a cold shower, to try and ease the burning until paramedics arrived. He was even frothing at the mouth.
A sign of the chemical burns affecting his breathing.
Exactly. A horrifying but common sign with severe chemical burns.
So when the paramedics got there, what did they find?
Mark was in a horrendous state. Extremely severe chemical burns. Face, chest, shoulders, arms, legs.
Everywhere.
Pretty much. On the way to the hospital, Mark kept saying he couldn't see anything. A paramedic actually looked into his eyes, saw that one of his irises had, well, literally dissolved.
Dissolved.
Even then, in that horrific state, he identified Berliner as his attacker, and he begged the police to check on his new girlfriend, worried she might have been attacked too.
Even in that moment, thinking of someone else, incredible.
The police went straight to Berliner's flat, found her just sitting calmly on the sofa, arrested her right there.
And the new girlfriend.
Thankfully, she was completely fine. A small mercy in all this horror.
So Mark gets to the hospital when he eventually saw himself.
He screamed, said he didn't want to live anymore. The injuries were so bad he had to be put in an induced coma for 4 months, breathing only with a ventilator.
4 months.
The acid caused immense damage, particularly to his lower left leg. It burned through everything, skin, muscle, right down to the bone. Destroyed the surrounding membrane, left cavities in the bone itself.
Just unbearable pain, I imagine.
Unbearable. It ultimately led to his leg being amputated. His nose was completely destroyed, one of his ears too.
And his family, how long did it take to reach them?
About 10 days. For the police to locate and contact them back in the Netherlands. When his father finally arrived at the hospital, staff directed him to Mark's ward.
Okay.
But when he got there, he couldn't find his son. He actually went back to the desk thinking there'd been a mistake.
But there wasn't a mistake.
No. Mark's injuries were so severe, he was completely unrecognizable, even to his own father.
That's hard to even comprehend.
Eventually, Mark did come out of the coma. At first, he could only move his mouth and tongue. He communicated by sticking his tongue out as his father pointed to letters on an alphabet board.
Wow.
After some time, he regained the ability to talk. But he was paralyzed from the neck down.
Neck down paralysis, plus everything else, the disfigurement, the pain.
Understandably, he became deeply depressed. The constant pain, the trauma, the immobility, it took a huge toll. His injuries were so graphic, the police actually made an unprecedented decision that pictures should never be released publicly.
Never released. That says something about the severity.
Absolutely. And it was clear Mark would need constant, dedicated care for the rest of his life.
So what happened next? Care arrangements.
In November 2016, a care home was found for him in Gloucester, UK. But after just one night, Mark called his father, pleading for him to come get him.
Why? What was wrong?
His father drove 800 miles, found Mark in his room, covered in his own feces, neglected.
Oh, that's horrific, adding indignity to all the suffering.
Mark's father promised he'd get him out, and with help from family and friends, they managed to hire a private ambulance and get Mark back to the Netherlands, to a much better care home there.
That must have been a relief, but the underlying situation.
The underlying situation remained bleak. Mark van Dongen passed away, aged just 29, nearly 16 months after the attack that just fundamentally destroyed his life.
How did he actually pass away? Was it directly from the injuries?
His condition worsened when he developed a lung infection. It required a tube in his throat to remove liquid, which meant he could no longer talk.
And talking was?
Talking to his family was really the only thing keeping him going. His father said that. Once that was taken away, facing unbearable permanent suffering, Mark made the incredibly difficult decision to apply for euthanasia.
In Belgium, where it's legal under those circumstances.
Yes. His application was reviewed and granted. He spent some final quality time with his father. Doctors arrived. And at 7:15 p.m. on January 2nd, 2017, Mark was pronounced dead.
Such a tragic end after unimaginable suffering. And Berlinah Wallace? What happened legally?
Well, this is where it gets legally complex and, for many, deeply frustrating. Despite all the evidence of premeditation, the 82 searches, buying the acid she was cleared of murder and manslaughter.
Cleared. But Mark died as a direct result of her actions.
The argument essentially hinged on the euthanasia. The defense claimed his death was caused by the doctor's hand, not directly by her attack. Even though the attack created the condition leading to that decision, she was found guilty of throwing a corrosive substance with intent.
And the sentence.
A minimum sentence of 12 years.
12 years minimum for causing injuries so horrific they led to euthanasia. That feels inadequate somehow.
It highlights a really difficult legal area, doesn't it? When a victim's death is a direct consequence, but hastened by a choice like euthanasia. It challenges the legal definition of murder and, some might argue, creates a loophole.
A loophole, yeah. That minimum sentence means she serves at least 12 before even being considered for parole.
Correct. And, what's striking about these acid attacks generally is the specific insidious cruelty. It's not just the immense pain and the lifelong disfigurement Mark's destroyed features, the amputation, the paralysis, it's the constant discomfort, the endless surgeries, the severe mental health impact, PTSD, depression, anxiety.
Plus the increased risk of cancers later on.
Yes. due to the damaged tissue. And during the trial, Berlinah's defense, they tried everything. Claimed Mark was controlling, that she thought she was throwing water, even that Mark left the acid out hoping she'd drink it.
But the evidence, the search history, testing the acid on a table beforehand.
Exactly. He completely contradicted her claims. The judge saw through it, calling the attack premeditated, sadistic, malicious, callous, said Berlinah was manipulative, controlling, and dangerous.
And the motive, the judge stated.
Chillingly clear. To burn, disfigure, and disable Mark so that he would no longer be attractive to any other woman. A deliberate destruction of identity and future.
That acid even corroded the doorbell. Mark rang for help, like a permanent scar on the building itself.
A grim, lasting reminder, yes.
The fact the police wouldn't release photos, his own father didn't recognize him, it just underscores a level of cruelty that's, well, truly hard to grasp. And you mentioned she showed no remorse during the trial.
None reported. Apparently showed no emotion, even while details of Mark's immense suffering were read out.
It's just profoundly disturbing.
Mark's story really is a stark, brutal reminder, isn't it? How jealousy and control can just spiral into premeditated sadism. It forces us to ask questions, not just about justice in these horrific cases, but about recognizing those insidious red flags of obsessive behavior earlier.
And how easily these awful intentions can be acted upon with things like acid being readily available.
Right. It leaves you wondering, how do we better protect people? And how do we reconcile the profound, irreversible suffering of someone like Mark with, well, the outcome sometimes produced by our justice system? It's a heavy question to leave our listeners with.